You are listening to the Live Life Keto Podcast with Jennifer Bands, episode number 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Live Life Keto Podcast. I am Jennifer Bands, and on this monumental occasion of my very first podcast, I want to introduce myself and give a little background on who I am and how I came to make keto my lifestyle. I am so excited. This is my first podcast. I've never done anything like this before. I'm super excited. And if you're listening, welcome. So let me start by just telling you about my business journey. So, of course, that has to do with everything keto because I started my blog back in 2017, and it was essentially just low carb and keto recipes. I never intended to make it anything more than that. I didn't want to share too much opinions or anything like that. I just wanted it to be strictly recipes. But over the years, of course, that stance has changed. And now you can find me on YouTube where I share my cooking videos. And I have over 80,000 subscribers. And you can find me on Facebook where I also share the cooking videos. I share my recipes. And I also do weekly Facebook Lives. I have over almost 800,000 followers there. And every week on Thursdays, I do a Facebook Live. And we do a Facebook Q&A, a keto Q&A. And everyone asks the questions and I give them my opinion, my answers. And I love it. I love it so much. It's been going amazing. We get a lot of great questions every week. So that's the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, is so I can take those questions and instead of just giving one short sentence, I can actually take those questions and elaborate. I also wanted to start this podcast to kind of give a little background on what is working for me, because if you don't know, I have been on and off keto for like the past 10 years. But now, since the beginning of this year, around April, May time, it's just now clicked to where I am able to do this successfully. And I know that I am going to live keto as my lifestyle for life. So what has happened is over the past 6 months or so, I've made this decision. I've committed to myself, and I have lost 50 pounds. And, I've lost 50 pounds before. I ended up gaining it back. So why is this time different? Let me tell you that mindset is everything. And what I've realized is that if you don't get it right, like in your mind, if you don't realize what's going on in your mind, in your brain, what we're dealing with, because everyone is essentially dealing with the same thing. We all have a brain that has these instincts, and when you know what's going on, then you have a more successful chance of overcoming those obstacles and reaching your goal, whether it be weight, money, anything that you want to do in your life. Our brain is essentially stopping us. So that's what I've realized, and now I know what's going on, how to overcome this obstacle of our brain, and how to be successful. So with all of that, I have lost over 50 pounds since around April time. And it's super exciting. I've never been so motivated. And honestly, I I really hate the word motivated because I get so many messages from people who are like, I don't have any motivation. My motivation is gone. And we will talk about that in future podcast episodes. But I do really feel very motivated. And yeah, so now that I have, I had my blog and I got my blog to a very successful point. My blog is Low Carb with Jennifer. If you don't know that, you can find the blog at lowcarbwithjennifer.com, or you can also go to jenniferbands.com. And then my YouTube channel is the same name, YouTube, Facebook, Low Carb with Jennifer. But now I have recently started my Live Life Keto membership, where I help other women who love everything about the keto diet, just like I did. For the 10 years that I was off and on with keto, of course, I loved everything about the keto diet. I loved the way it made me feel. And everyone, women love the way it gives them more energy and less hunger. But we just can't stick to it. So that's what my membership works on. It works on how we love the keto diet. We think it's freaking amazing, but we just can't stick to it. So why? Why can't we stick to the keto diet? So let me give you what the reasons why I think that keto is so hard to stick to. Well, for one, we are constantly bombarded with food advertisements. And this food, I'm talking about fast food, prepackaged foods, etc., even keto prepackaged foods. These foods are engineered. They're created. They are money, millions of dollars are spent from companies to make this food extra delicious and addictive. So why is that a problem? Why is it a problem that these foods are engineered to be extra delicious and addictive? It's because these foods provide dopamine for our brain. Whenever we eat these foods, our brain gets a hit of dopamine. And the types of foods that really give our brains a hit of dopamine are foods with flour and sugar, especially foods with flour and sugar. These are substances that are concentrated. So humans have taken the sugar cane and we've processed it and we've made it into this super concentrated substance called sugar. It's not, if you think about it, it's really not natural. Like, of course it's natural. It came from a sugar cane, but naturally, it's not naturally occurring. We have processed it so much to where it's so concentrated, it provides an unnatural hit of dopamine to our brain. Flour is the same way. We've taken wheat, humans have taken wheat, and we've concentrated it, we've processed it to where it is this substance, this white powder that is so concentrated that it gives our brain an unnatural dopamine hit. So what do I mean by an unnatural dopamine hit? Well, whenever you take anything like flour, sugar, alcohol, cocaine, stuff like that is taken from a natural source and it's concentrated to be highly addictive. So our brains are not designed, or we did not evolve to get this extreme hit of dopamine. The type of dopamine hit that our brains would have gotten while we were in our, as ancestors, our ancestors would have gotten back in like the caveman days, doesn't even come close to the dopamine we get, the hit we get from flour and sugar and alcohol and drugs. So whenever our brain gets this extreme hit of dopamine, it remembers how amazing this food made us feel. And it wants to continue eating that over and over again. It doesn't want to stop. And it's going to remember that food. It's going to remember the situation you were in. It's going to remember how it tastes, how good you felt, and it's going to want to do that over and over and over again. It really is no wonder that over half of the world's population is overweight or obese. It's like, no wonder. We have a brain that gets dopamine hits. And have you ever seen like a baby, the first bite of sugar? Look at their reaction. Whenever that dopamine hits their brain, it's like they just can't get enough. And they're just like, I want more, give me more of that. So it's no wonder that over half of the world's population is overweight or obese. We are bombarded with food advertisements of these foods that are so addictive. They are huge hits of dopamine to our brain. And our brain just wants more and more and more. It will do anything to get those dopamine hits. It will forget about your future. It will forget about your goals. It will tell you that right now in this moment, that food is the most important thing that you can eat right now. It's the most important thing in your life right now. Right now, I don't care that you want to lose 50 pounds so you don't have heart disease. Your brain doesn't care. All your brain cares about is that food, that McDonald's cheeseburger, those fries, that large Coke, that sleeve of Oreos. That's all your brain cares about. So the second reason why we cannot stick to the keto diet, keto way of life, is it has become so socially acceptable to overeat and emotionally eat that we are actually judged if we're not eating junk food. We're actually judged by friends and family if we are at a family gathering or a gathering with friends and we're not eating. They ask us, why are you not eating? Why don't you want a cupcake? You should be able to have a cupcake. You need food to be social. And then we're told we should be able to eat all of these things in moderation, or that we need carbs to live. But these foods are addictive. And self-control, it just goes right out the window. All of these factors are essentially a recipe for obesity. Extreme hits of dopamine and a brain that is seeking pleasure. Because that's what it is doing whenever it gets that hit of dopamine. It's receiving pleasure. So when we get that hit of dopamine, it's going to want it even more. Over and over again. Give me that hit of pleasure. So I have one question for you. Now that you know what your brain is capable of, now that you know the obstacle that your brain poses for you and the obstacle that food companies are providing, what are you going to do about it? That is my question for you, my friends. So, guys, what can you expect from future episodes of the Live Life Keto podcast? So, just like this episode, you can expect easily digestible chunks of information that is going to help you live keto for life. I am so excited to bring you along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I cannot wait to record more for you. So, buckle up.